Hello, and welcome to Abilities United Presents Community Connections, a program dedicated to those individuals dealing with a developmental or physical challenge. I'm Andrea Thronson, Community Connections Developer. Tonight's program is really exciting for us, as we'll be doing something that we've not done before. And we are very honored to have with us Congresswoman Eshoo. Later in the program, we will be opening up the interview to include questions from our studio audience. But first of all, welcome, Congresswoman.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, this is really exciting for us.
It's a wonderful honor for me, and I'm just as excited as you are.
Well, neat. So why don't we kind of lay the foundation? Could you just tell us a little bit about your background and what is your role in Congress right now?
Well, in my family, when I was growing up, my mother and father placed a great deal of emphasis on public service. Now, that didn't mean that they were encouraging their three children to run for office, but they always talked about how important it was as a citizen of our country that we not only be aware of what's going on in our community and what the needs are, and that we do something about it, that we always be engaged in the community in some way, shape, or form. And so from a very early age, that was an emphasis, and it's something that my brother, my sister, and myself all took to heart. Now, I never dreamed when I was a youngster that I would grow up and run for public office someday. But it's what I did, and I served for 10 years on the San Mateo County Board of Supervisors, where I became very involved in not only health care, but working with those that had special needs in what was called the disabled community. So I loved that work. I took that understanding of the needs of the community, of the people that I was represented to serve, to the Congress. And that's where I am now. And it's a great honor to represent the people of California's 14th Congressional District. And so I commute across the country every week to Washington, D.C., where I do my legislative work, because that's where the Congress meets. But I always come home to be with my constituents every single week, and I've done this for now my 20th year, which is hard for me to believe, but it's been 20 years.
That's a lot of frequent flyer miles. I mean, that's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot of traveling.
Well, the airlines don't do anything for us that they don't do for others. So they require, a lot of miles if you ever want an upgrade. People always talk to me about frequent flyer miles, but that's not the reason that I fly. The reason I fly is to do my legislative work there, which means helping to shape new laws for the people of our country, and most specifically for my constituents, and then to come home and to be with my constituents. If you're not with people, it would be very difficult to understand what their needs are, what they think, what they like, what they don't like. And so my constituents really inform and teach me a great deal.
Well, and it seems like that takes a lot of dedication to come back to Palo Alto, find out what your base needs, take it back to Washington, D.C., find out what's going there, take it back to your constituents. I mean, that's a real dedication to what you believe our community needs.
Well, I think that a public office, and I think especially being a member of Congress, is a very high calling. And there are so many people today that are down on government. They have very little confidence that the country can move forward. And there are many manifestations of that. But I've always thought that, number one, no matter how difficult it is, that America is worth it. Wow. And I see throughout the communities that I represent exceptional models, including your organization, and the work that they do. And whatever I can do to help bolster that work, to help either rewrite old laws that need updating, or new ideas that really are great ideas that people would benefit from. I believe in people. I was taught that we're all God's children and that every single person in this country counts. We are a society that believes that every generation builds on the good work of the previous generation. So we're always pushing the edges of the envelope out to make progress, because that's who and what we are. And very importantly, that no one is left behind. No one is left behind, regardless of their age, their color, their ethnic background, their religious beliefs, their abilities or developmental disabilities that they may have been born with. No one is to be left behind.
Right. Well, and that's what you're so good at, is getting out into the community. I remember several years ago, you came to our agencies, you did an ice cream social with us.
Yes.
You wanted to know what was going on with us. What do we need from government and so forth. And it seems like you're a real hands-on, you know, get your feet and your hands dirty and bring the public's needs to Washington. And I think that's part of your message of all of us are important and everybody's vote counts.
Every single person counts.
Yeah.
I raised 2 children, and I was always asking them, telling them,
Right.
working with them, helping to shape good human beings. And so in many ways, I think of my work in many of the same ways, applying the same values. Because we're all in this together.
Yeah.
We're all in this together, and I believe that we can do very noble, important work that is going to serve people well. And I'm always struck by what my constituents do.
Yeah.
And I want to help take their hopes and aspirations and do something with them.
And that's what it means to be heard.
That's what it means, absolutely.
And it sounds like that you really advocate for volunteering in the community, that's part of it.
Oh, yes. I spent a good part of my life being a volunteer in the community.
Yeah.
And when I was first elected to the Board of Supervisors, I remember one of my colleagues saying, it's amazing how hard you listen to people that come before the board. And I said to my colleague, you know what? I see myself in them because I did that as well. And in America, unlike most countries around the world, our country would not work if we did not have volunteers. Volunteerism is one of the ingredients of citizenship, and it's as old as our country, and it's as needed today as it was when the country was first being built. Because I always say, you can't fire a volunteer. There isn't a price tag that can ever be placed on volunteers and the work that they do. They make our communities work.
Wow. Speaking of volunteers, let's take a quick look at some of the work that we do out in the community at Sunnyvale Community Services. Have a look.
Our agency works to prevent homelessness and hunger in Sunnyvale, and we do so by providing food assistance and financial assistance to low-income families and low-income seniors living in Sunnyvale.
We put bags and put it into, and then when it's done, we put rubber bands on it.
Volunteers come here once every 2 weeks, and the volunteers help us with double bagging our brown bags. That's super important for us just because we go through about 3,000 plus double bags every month.
I do bagging, 2 bags and stock the rubber bands.
We put utensils together for meals.
We get the napkin and we stack a spoon, a fork, and a knife all in the set, and then we just tie it up and put it in a bin for them to use.
So the volunteers that come from Abilities United put together napkins, and then they would put forks, spoons, and knives and tie it up with a cute ribbon so that they can be placed into the bags for our individuals. They also help us with sorting canned foods. So we get donations every couple days, and the volunteers that come in, they usually look through, they sort them into the different categories for us so that when we have to pack the groceries, we're able to pull out the packed food.
Our participants really like the site because there's a variety of tasks to do, and they always work hard when they come here.
It's fun to work with the staffers. There's a lot of people who say good morning, they're so happy.
Oh, we love the volunteers from Abilities United. And I remember the first day that they were here, I had a couple volunteers that would peek their heads into my office and say, which group is that that's volunteering out there? They're so friendly, they're so nice, they're saying hi, how are you? Very respectful, very courteous people.
When they're here, they work extremely hard, and when we go back to center, everyone's always asking to come to this site.
We could give food to other people who don't have it.
We would love to have the group continue to come back. Yeah, we look forward to the group coming all the time.
The things that they do are just so great, and our guys love helping out, and I really think it gives them a purpose, and it's awesome.
You're helping us to work towards our mission of ending homelessness and preventing hunger in our community.
I like to help people.
That's what makes our community work, is volunteering, and our group does it extremely well. So I'd like to open up some questions right now. So Congresswoman Eshoo has graciously agreed to accept some questions from our audience. So let's go ahead, open it up to our live audience. Do some of you have questions for the Congresswoman? Yes. Marie, why don't you stand up and have a question?
Why did you enter the world of politics?
Excellent question, Marie. I think that I touched on that before, earlier in the program. I think that the work that can be done through elective office, it's not the only way to contribute to our country, but I think that it is really, in many ways, a dream come true to me, because I love working with people and I love helping people. And I know that the laws of our country, which affect everyone across our nation, are so important. And so it's a combination of a love for public service. I love my community. I've been a volunteer, and I love serving in elective office. It really is exciting to me, and it has a very, very deep meaning to me, especially when I can get something done for people that they can't do for themselves. That's what's so important about it. And I think that my parents' high regard for what our country stands for, and how we all have a responsibility as citizens to help make our country better and stronger each generation, has always stayed inside of me.
Good question, Marie. Thank you.
Thank you.
Someone else have a question? Maritza? Okay.
How you support with people with disabilities?
It's a wonderful and important question, Maritza. Going back to my time when I served in county government, I saw that there was a huge need amongst the disabled community. And at that time, they were not united. You had the developmentally disabled people and their advocates. You had the blind in one place. You had the deaf someplace else. And so I worked and worked and worked for almost a year. And the result of that work many, many years ago is that I initiated and put together a commission on disabilities in San Mateo County. And that became the very first in the entire state of California. And through the work that was done at the commission, they were united when they went to Sacramento, to our nation's capital, to help advocate, so that people were not divided and pitted against one another. Because we united, you can get a lot more done. So I'm very proud of that, very, very proud of that. And to this day, that work goes on. I also launched at that time, I brought together employers from San Mateo County and said, this is one of the most dedicated workforces you will ever have. And just because someone has some kind of disability does not mean that they are not intelligent and can't work. And if you employ those with that are disabled, you are going to see that you're going to have the most loyal and hardworking workforce. And so they took me up on the offer. And with that, there were hotels and other businesses that began employing the disabled. And again, I'm very proud of that. But more than proud of it, I'm thrilled for those whose lives have been affected by it. I also look to make independent living a reality for people. Yeah. Because you know what? When we grow up, we all want to leave the nest and we want to live independently. And so that became a reality for many people as well. And then there's other work that I've done in the Congress that we can talk about. But those are some of the things that I've done in my work over all of the years with the community.
So you were a real instigator of rights for the disabled population.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Another question. Ilya.
What is your opinion on healthcare?
My opinion on healthcare is that we all need it. We all need it. There isn't, I don't think any human being that has lived their whole life without needing some kind of health care sometime in their life. And so we all need it. Now, the problem that we've had in our country is that everyone has not had access to health care, and everyone has not received quality health care, or is it affordable? You can have the best of everything out there, but if it's not affordable, then you won't have access to it. So I have always, all of my life, believed that there should be health care coverage for every single person in our country. And I worked very hard on the new law, which I think you know about. It's called the Affordable Care Act. And thank goodness, the Supreme Court of the United States of America said it is constitutional. Now, there's a very, very important provision in the law, and it was legislation that I wrote many years ago, going back into the 90s. And I learned about this issue directly from the disabled community here in my congressional district. Wow. I never knew, but I learned because they told me that written into health insurance policies in the very fine print was a lifetime cap, a limit. Now, some people don't hit that limit for a long, long time. But in the disabled community, that ceiling was hit faster and sooner than anyone else. And so I wrote legislation to eliminate that lifetime cap. And I kept reintroducing that legislation, reintroducing it from the 90s, and finally, I got it into the Affordable Care Act. So today, there are no lifetime caps or limits on a health insurance policy for anyone in our country. But I believe that the disabled community are the direct beneficiaries of that, as others are. But in the disabled community, that was a huge stumbling block. So I am very excited about that. I'm very proud of it. And that's the law of the land in the United States of America today.
I don't have words for that. That is just really impressive. And we are extremely grateful that is the case and that you brought that.
Well, I think that it's my job to know what the problems are, to find out what the problems are in people's lives, and then to help remove those stumbling blocks. And so that's what it represents. And I think that it's a huge step forward for all of us.
Wow. I'm getting so caught up in the conversation here that we have one more video that we would like to show the audience of some of our work at Linton Gardens. So let's take a brief break and take a look at that.
So every Monday we come and we play bingo with the people who live here, and we call the numbers and we help some of the people move the spaces if they need help.
43. On Mondays, we come here just to work on bingo and stuff. It's pretty good. I like doing that.
I mean, we had them help out bringing cookies for our assisted living resident, and then we're trying to get them, like as of now, of working with our healthcare center residents.
They really like meeting the seniors here. You know, they always have one that they're always sitting next to, and they just love seeing them every Monday when we come.
The reason why I like the Bill United to come here is because they're so helpful. They come like 15-30 minutes early. They're very committed. They're very consistent. They wanted to help, and they're willing to and try to. So that's something that I really love.
It's fun to do. It's fun to work at.
I can just see how they're more willing to help, you know, normally if they wouldn't be. And since they've started coming here, they've just been more willing and, oh, you know, can I do this, can I do that type thing, which is great.
They always want to be here. They have the passion just to come and give to the residents.
It's been really inspiring to watch the two age groups come together and to become friends.
I feel great to volunteer.
Yes, our residents really love to have a Bill United, and they have brightened their day.
I like to volunteer because it's fun to work.
It all goes back to volunteering really makes the community run, and we are helping that process. So let's take a couple more questions from the audience. So who has a question? Norma? Okay, go ahead.
What can I do to make a difference?
Good question.
Well, we all want to make a difference, Norma, and there isn't a better feeling than when we know that we have. And I think that there are literally thousands of opportunities in our community. There are people in need. There are homeless shelters that need volunteers to help with the work there. We've seen in the videos that were shown the beautiful work that volunteers are doing, and they are making a difference in another human being's life. Why? Because when we volunteer, you know what we're saying to each other? I care about you. You're important, and I want to be a part of your life. I want to do something good. And so whether you volunteer in a hospital and help deliver things to patients, or to work at a senior center, or to work with children, or at Linton Gardens, there are thousands of ways, not just hundreds of ways. There are thousands of ways through our churches. There are just unending opportunities to be of help to someone else. And you don't have to do it 20 hours a day or 50 hours a week. You can volunteer and give 1 hour out of your life each week or each day or each month. And that's how we make a difference to one another. And when we do, all of those acts help make our community stronger. And when we make our community stronger, we make our nation better.
Okay. Great question, thank you. I think we've got time for maybe one more question. Sepida, do you have a question? Okay.
What can I do to be in politics?
Oh, that's a great question. What can I do to be in politics? Well, most honestly, I would not have been elected, and others that represent you would not have been elected unless they had volunteers that helped them in their effort. And so we always have a campaign headquarters, and you can volunteer there. And what you will see firsthand is how much work it takes. And the kind of work it is very personal, because you reach out to people in the community. And so if I were working for you and you were running for office, I would go to your headquarters and I would make telephone calls to people and say, this is why I'm supporting her. I think that she's a good person. These are the kinds of things that she's done. These are the kinds of things that she wants to get done on behalf of the community. So it's not complicated, and it's a wonderful way to meet new people. You make great friends. Some of the best friends that I have, I met volunteering. and they have become lifelong friends. So it's easy, it's not hard to do, everyone is needed, and no campaign can afford to pay everyone. There are very few people that are paid in a campaign. Campaigns are really run by and backed up by and are the backbone of the whole effort are volunteers. So it's a great question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, and I think, you know, it just seems like your theme is so based in the community and how we all, you know, government has not been looked at so favorably of late.
You're right.
And it sounds like one of the solutions you're advocating is to go back to the basics, volunteer, help each other out. Everybody's vote counts, everybody's voice counts, and that's what we all need to come together.
Well, that's what really builds a community, is each one of us. And that's how the country is put together, one community after another. And without a doubt, we have many challenges in our country today. There's no doubt about that. The economy is not all that it can and should be. Everyone is not employed. We want full employment. When you have a job, you have dignity. But we all have to work together. It's very easy to be negative.
Yeah.
And to cut things down and say that this is not important, that's not important. But you know what? All of us together are important. And I think that it's very important to have a vibrant volunteer sector of our community. I think it's very important that the government operate in a rational and meaningful way, and we need a very robust private sector as well. So it all counts.
It all counts. And Congresswoman Eshoo, it has been wonderful, wonderful to have you
here. Well, the pleasure is mine. Thank you.
As you can see, we all make a difference in the community. It takes all of us. Join us for our next episode when we celebrate our 50th anniversary. And thank you for joining us at Abilities United Presents Community Connections.